Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I have a project of the week for you, another card with a fun kinetic element. It's called a double swing card. I'll show you just how easy it is to create this style of card. And along with being able to make it quickly without the need for a trimmer or craft knife or a scoreboard, it also means you'll be able to use up any small scraps from your stash. Save the file and you'll have it at hand to make again whenever you like. Stick with me and I'll show you how. On the screen is Canvas Workspace. This is the download version for the PC. I'm using this version because it has the added bonus of the X and Y placement, which means that I can place shapes with precision. Now, if you haven't already used the download version, I encourage you to do so. You don't have to worry about the internet working while you're creating files, and it is more versatile. That doesn't mean, of course, that you can't use the online version, which, by the way, is the only one currently that's available for mobile devices such as tablets. And I even use that version myself sometimes. But it is handy to be able to use both. So if you're not familiar with the differences, I have an old introduction video to both versions, which I will link in the description of this video. So let's take a look now at the double swing card. So you'll see here in the middle, I've got it laid out with the mechanism, which is the one in blue, sitting behind, and the mats and layers, the white and the yellow on top. It really only takes a small amount of card and paper to make this card, so it is a good way to use up anything in your stash. Off to the right here, we've got some examples. This is a swing card, and you'll see these panels with the images on them are the swing part of this card. They actually swing around, and they reveal on the back this. So you can have another image, or you could have two images if you want. In this case, the mat is the only layer they've used in order to put a sentiment or to write a message on. But you can do whatever you like. You could have all four panels decorated. You could use different patterns. You might even want to have maybe two of these on the back blank, so that you've got plenty of room to maybe do some stamping and also do some writing as well. So that is the double swing card introduction, and we're going to now learn how to create it. So I'm just going to bring up a new project here. And the first thing I want to make is the base card. So I'll bring in a square, and I'm going to resize this. To do that, I'm going to click off the maintain aspect ratio and change the width to 11¼ inches and the height to 6 inches. So 11.25 by 6. Now this will fit an A4 card or a piece of 12 by 12 card. If you want to use letter size card, which is the standard in the US, then I will show you how you can do that. I'll do that later on after actually we've completed this. And it's a simple way to do it, and you won't have to change these starting dimensions that I have here. So begin with your base card at 11¼ by 6. I'm going to give it some fill color here so that we can see it a bit better. And now I'm going to start by placing it in the corner using the X and Y placement. So the X is going to be 0 and the Y is going to be 0. And it just makes it much easier if you have it right there stuck up in that left-hand corner to make your calculations from there. So it's easier to go from 0 to, let's say you want to place something at ½ an inch, than to start with 0.3 and have to do a little bit of jiggling to get it to match. So I'm now going to lock this in place using the toggle lock, and that ensures that that rectangle now will not move about while I'm adding the cut lines and the score lines. We'll start with the cut lines. Now I'm going to use over here under Artboard the comment a bit that this is already in a 1-inch grid. You can change these, of course, to whatever size you want. It will go much larger than that, it goes up to 2 inches. I'm just going to bring it back down to 1 because it really doesn't matter the size at this point because we're going to change it. But I do need to be sure that my vertical line and my horizontal line is completely straight, and also that my horizontal lines are the same length. So I'm just going to start anywhere on this page and you'll see that it actually snaps to that grid. You can bring it out if you want to, but I'm just going to leave it at 1 inch and I'll click. So that's my first horizontal line, my vertical line, and my last horizontal line. So I'm going to double click, and that's going to create this sort of C shape. Now this is an open path. If you click inside of it and expose those nodes, you'll see here under Path Editing Tools that it is an open outline. If you close it, you make a square. We don't want that, of course, but you can see that those horizontal lines are exactly the same, and then we've got our vertical line. So go back and take that out, or you could use your undo, and we're going to make that an open outline. Now at the moment it's still snapped to grid, so when you try to move it around the page it just goes within those grid lines. To remove that, we just need to take that back off, and then we can move this wherever we like. Now we can resize this. Let's go to Edit, and we leave the Maintain Aspect Ratio off, and we're going to change the width 1 1/4 and the height to 6 inches. Or I'm sorry, 4 inches. So 1 1/4 and 4 inches. So there is our first score line. Zoom out here a little bit. And we'll place this again using the X and Y. One 1/4 inches in from the left, so 1.25, and 1 inch from the top of the card. This card is 6 inches in height, so that means we have 1 inch, then we've got 4 inches between the cut lines, and then another inch to make up these 6 inches, and then we're 1 1/4 inches in from the left. What we can do now is duplicate this. or you could copy and paste if you want to. And I'm going to use the horizontal flip so that the orientation is now correct. And we can place this one. This one, we're going to come in at 3 3/4, so 3.75. And it also is going to be 1 inch from the top. So those are our cut lines. If you like, you can group these. And now we can put our score lines in. Now for the score line, and I'm going to attempt my best to draw a straight line. And it is, the width is 0, so that's good. I'm going to start out at 1 inch in height. And I'll explain that in just a moment. And then the dash pattern, I'm going to make a score line. Now normally, if you were using a scoreboard, you would place this so that it was at the 0 mark, so it was flush with the top of this card. But when you put score lines in, remember they are cut lines. So if you don't want to risk this after, the stress of opening and closing, it cutting through, it's best to leave a little bit of room here at the beginning and the end of the score line. Could probably make that a tiny bit longer, just to give it some more strength. It will still fold fine, but it just helps to keep that from cutting through completely. So let's see how long that is now. It's a little over. Let's see. I might be able to even get that up to maybe 0.8. Let's try that and see what happens. That's not too bad. Right, now we can place that, and we're going to bring this in at 2.5 inches. And then that is going to meet that cut line so that we can get our swing element in place. Then we want to duplicate this. And we're going to place it along here. So this is going to be 3.75. And I'm just going to nudge that up a little bit. Might put this at the same value there. And we have our score lines. We need another set though to mirror that at the bottom. So the easiest way for me to do that is to group those and duplicate them. I can move them down here. And because they're already a complete set, I only have to position this score line, and the other will be in the correct place. So this will be 2.5 again. And then I will put it in the middle there. So that is going to meet up with that line, and this one is going to meet up with this one. And you can actually test that if you like. Well, let's do that. Let's just ungroup this. And we see that it is at 3.75. Right, now let's zoom out again. And we're ready to repeat this on the right side. So if I just group all that together and duplicate it, let's see if I can, there we are. Now we can place this, and it's going to come in 1 inch from the right, so 6 1/4, and we can see that those score lines are just fine as well. So you've only had to place it one time there. So that is the swing element completed. That's the template that you need. So we'll need to go back to the layers and unlock the base so that we can now group all this together and just move it off to the side. Next are the mats and layers. I'm going to bring in a square again to start with. And these are going to be for the swing panels to start. So I'll make that white. That's just going to be for my mat. And the size on this is going to be 3.5 by 3 3/4. So you can see how that's going to fit in the middle of that. The layer, which is going to be on top of that. Now, I'm using mat. If you want to just use mat, you don't have to use a layer if you don't want to. But it just gives it a little more depth, a little more interest. It just helps your images to pop off the page a bit more. And I'm going to then make the layer 1/4 inch narrower than the mat. So that means I can then duplicate it, and then just here I can click down to 3 1/4 by 3 1/2. And if I make that a different color, you'll see when I align them, which you're going to do with your adhesive. Just place it on top. That layer will go on top of that mat. And you can see, in fact, if you were to use black for your mat, it will be even more dramatic, more noticeable. So you would have that. Now you'll need 4 of these, or if you want to just have one panel as a mat, then you would make 4 of the mats and 3 of the layers, whatever you decide. Next, we're going to make another mat and layer set. And this one is going to be, let's duplicate that, rather than have to keep bringing on a new shape. We'll duplicate that, and we're going to change this to 2 1/4 by 3/4, 0.75. We'll duplicate it again, and we'll change this to 2 inches by 1/2 inch. And that is our layer. Duplicate this, and we'll change this to 3.5 inches. Now you'll need 4 of those, okay? This one is going to be 3.5 inches by 3/4 inch. Duplicate it, and reduce that to 3 1/4 by 1/2 inch. Okay. Next, I'm going to duplicate this one, and this one is going to be 1 inch by 3/4 inch. Duplicate it and reduce it to 3/4 by 1/2 inch. You'll need 4 of those. Now this one, just above it, you're only going to need 2 of those, and I'll show you on the template where those will be placed in. The last one that you need to make is going to be 1 inch, but this one is going to be 3 3/4. So it's a long one there, a taller one. If you duplicate that now, you need to just reduce it to 3/4 inch by 3.5 inches. This one you only need 3 of. So just to recap that, you'll need either 4 mats, and you'll either need 4 or 3 of the layers, or if you just want mats on the back, then that would be 4 and 2. This next size, which is going to go into the corners, you'll need 4 of those. You only need 2 of these. You'll need 4, and then finally you'll need 3 of these. So let me go back to the mat here, and we'll bring in the template, and I'll show you one side at least of how these will be set out. Your panel is going to go inside of here. Then these are your corner pieces. They're going to go up here. You'll have one of these on the left-hand side. These are going to go in the middle here at the top and the bottom. And this is going to go in between those score lines. So you'll have another set of these down here and over here. Let's just change that. So these are going to be here, 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 and of course here. Then you'll have the smallest rectangle, which is going to go between the score lines here, 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 and here. These this matten layer is going to be at the top, and then here at the bottom. The elongated one is going to be to the left, to the right, and then here in the middle. And that is everything that you need, except for any other decoration that you want to add to your double swing card. Before I prepare this to send to my machine, I'm going to show you how you can easily resize this if you want to use an 8.5 by 11-inch card, which is the US letter size. The first thing we need to do is we need to select everything, all of our elements that we're going to be sending or resizing, and we're going to group it. Now we've got this error message, meaning that we've exceeded our limit as to how many levels of grouped objects we can have. We're limited to 3. So an easy way to take care of this is going to be to go to your layers, and we'll look for these groups. So we've got group here, see if we can, let's just select them one at a time. So we'll select that and we'll ungroup it. The next one here, we'll ungroup this. We'll ungroup this one. This is a group as well. Remember, we grouped those cut lines, and then we grouped the score lines, and then we grouped those all together, and then we made another group, etc., etc. So we need to just get rid of some of these. I might as well just go ahead and ungroup all of those, because now what we're going to do is select everything and group it. And there we have it. So no error message. Now it's time to resize it. You want to be sure that you resize all of your elements at the same time. That's why it's easier, I should say, if you group everything together so that you don't have to go one by one and resize them. So go to your resize, and you can use your cursor to pull it into size, and you can see there on the right how it's changing it. So you get it to the size that you want. So you might want 10.53, it doesn't really matter. Or, let me just bring it back here to 11.25, or you could resize it using the scale. I would think it's probably going to be about maybe 97%. So taking 3% off, let's see what we get here. That's 1091. That's probably not enough. So we can try 96%. And that's getting pretty close. We might want to bring it down just a little bit more. To 93. And that's almost 10.5 there. But again, like I said, you can just use these pull tabs here, or these little squares that you see here, and pull it into position whatever you want. So if you wanted it to be closer to 10 3/4, you can do that. That means that everything else, let me just ungroup this, everything else has been resized for you. So now, even though there's this sort of odd width and height, it is all going to work. So it will be the same proportions that you had with the 11.25 by 6 inch. So that's that. And what we're going to do now is send this to the machine, and I'll show you how it all goes together. I have everything cut out now, and as you can see, I've already gone ahead and prepped some of these. The mats and layers are all glued together. That saves you having to watch me do that, and cuts down on our time here. But we'll start with our base card, of course, and we're going to fold along those score lines that we created. You can see here this panel. We'll do the same on this side. And those small score lines make this easy to fold, but not actually break through the card. So now we have our card, and as you can see, it will swing both ways. So you could have it fold into that way, you can have it fold like that, and then of course it will fold back into the full position here. So if you need to, you can fold it on the back here and just give it a little more swingability, if that is such a word. So there we have our double swing card. Now all we have to do is to decorate it. So I decided to make mine a birthday card, and so what I did is just stamp on the front there of this matte piece, so that I can just put this here and I can write a message as well. So I'm going to just glue this in place. Like so. And then on the back I'm also going to take one of these panels. I think I use this one here. This is going to go on the back, so that you'll be able to see that on the other side. I'm not going to use any foam squares here. I'm just going to use my adhesive until I come to my sentiment here. I've got some foam squares on there. So there we have that, and now I'm going to decorate the front. Now these will go into the panels. These small squares are going to go here, or rectangles I should say, are going to go here between the score lines. We're going to have one here and down here, and then these three are going to go in the middle and on both ends. So let me get on with that, and then we'll move on from there. We have the final piece going in now, and as you can see, it really takes only a small amount of your card and papers to make one of these. So for my little sentiment here, this is just out of my stash. I've put some foam squares on the back. Just take off that carrier there. And I think I'm just going to have it going across like that. So get it where I want it first, and then I'll push it into place. So that is everything completed. As you can see, these panels swing, so when you actually fold it down, that will fit in a square envelope. So in this case it would be a 6x6, or you might have a 5x5, whichever size you want. So there we have the double swing card. I think you'll agree that it makes a lovely showcase card. So it would look lovely on a mantelpiece, on a shelf or a dresser, and it can be used for any occasion. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you'll have a go at the double swing card yourself.
next time I plan on bringing you a 3D project. So be sure that if you're not subscribed, that you do subscribe and hit the notification button so that you'll be notified when I upload that video. In the meantime, please do take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.